Hello.
Hey.
Hey, everyone.
Hello.
So let me just find the agenda. One sec. Awesome. So welcome, everyone. This is the 12th of December, and this is our EMEA Americas Delivery Weekly. So I will just read this one, even though it's in the async announcements, just so everyone knows, is we have our AMA on Wednesday. So this is our monthly AMA. So Vladimir, this would be the first time you've heard of this stuff. The sort of background of this one is and initially, many years ago, was the delivery office hours. And rather than it just being for us to chat about things, we've opened it up so that anyone in the company can come. They can ask questions, or sometimes we discuss things, or whatever it is. But if you do have anything you'd like to either ask us or ask someone in the group or generally chat about, please feel free to stick that on the agenda. Awesome. And we have a few people heading out, and I expect we'll have a lot more people heading out over the next few weeks as well. So keep an eye on things. We've tried to add some of the calendars into routes. Certainly for orchestration, it's only showing some of the things, but you may find you have a little bit more visibility of who's around. We'll try and get the rest of them to actually turn up in there so you can see everybody. So we don't have anything on the discussions list yet, but to avoid this being just an updating meeting, who has stuff on their mind? What would be a fun topic to discuss?
If no one has anything, then I just posted one issue on the delivery channel. What does everyone think about not unassigning the bot when a security AMER fails validation? So like it has a red pipeline or unresolved discussions or something like that. So for some context, what happens now is that if the bot finds that some requirement is not met, it posts a message pinging the assignees and saying what is wrong and what needs to be fixed, and then unassigns itself. So what happens is, for example, when there's a broken master or broken stable branch, the pipeline fails, the bot unassigns itself, and the assignees simply have to, wait until the master pipeline has been fixed and assign the bot back. So it's kind of like a lot of active waiting. They don't really have to do anything, but they just have to watch the pipelines, wait till it becomes green, then assign the bot back, which is painful. So, I mean, we could just keep the bot assigned. And the only disadvantage to that I can see is that the assignees might get multiple pings, because each time the RM runs the merge command, the bot will leave a message saying, mentioning what is wrong and asking them to fix it. But multiple pings shouldn't be a big problem, and we don't run the merge command that often also.
It might actually be a good thing, because I mean, they won't get extra to-dos, but it's not terrible if they end up missing the release, but actually you can see like you got pinged 5 times, like, what went on type of thing. So it might actually be quite a good nudge.
Does it really leave the message only when we run the merge command?
There's 2. I think there's 2 messages.
It also leaves a message when validates the merge request through the pipeline schedule that runs every hour or something.
Yeah, that's one. Yeah, correct. Because I was thinking exactly that. I think I remember there was some sort of a schedule around this. And so if it's if it keeps being assigned, yeah, maybe
Oh.
this will send every hour that
Every
same
hour,
message.
okay. Yeah, that's a lot.
But that being said, maybe I think improving this could be a good idea. Maybe what we can do is if it wants to unassign just because of the status of the pipeline, and there are, say, previous pipeline that are green, so the change itself should be okay, and it's just that it's very likely there is a broken situation in the stable branch or in master. Maybe you can just kick a new pipeline and wait for the next one. Something like this, right? Because you can trigger the run pipeline on a merge request. It will run on the merge result. So if the problem was fixed on stable branches or things like that, it can it can self-fix, basically. That's really tricky, right? Because we are targeting a moving target. Targeting a moving target, not the best choice of word, but yeah, whatever. So it may breaks again until we merge it.
Yeah. Yeah, we can try that.
This is going to be an interesting one because like this topic, because it's very much tied in with broken master. I've already seen a sort of topic related to this where, you know, people had trouble getting things to be able to be in the security release because of the because master, I think master was broken for quite a while, right around when we were doing the merger, which might have actually been why the security release was also more tricky this month. But we're not really involved in that, and it's not really something that, you know, necessarily holds our process up, but I've seen sort of a separate topic where people were talking about this in development. So I think that will probably become an increasingly interesting topic. Does this give you enough, Ruben, to get that issue into a sort of a proposal?
Yeah, I'll update the description.
Awesome. Sounds good. What else have people got on their minds at the moment? In which case, I'm going to pitch you an idea, which I didn't have time to write into an issue, get your levels of ambivalence through to a roaring enthusiasm for this idea, to work out how much effort I need to put into writing my issue. So I've been thinking about the long-running topic of measuring release manager toil. And I know we've got lots of metrics that we track. I know we've got lots more coming with your epic, Ruben. But I was thinking about something as a kind of slightly different angle, which is rather than measuring something like MTTP or how many packages or like, did we have 3 incidents, but actually looking at the release manager job. And I was thinking about this as a way of us being able to make a decision around, if we gave some of this work to developers, so for example, if we prioritize work to make something self-serve versus prioritize work to make a process easier, does that feel like it actually benefits us from a release manager toil point of view? So what I was thinking of introducing or proposing was us bringing in a way of just having it will be a little bit of a finger in the air. We'll have to work out exactly how we do this, but essentially giving a score to complexity for each of our processes against each other. So roughly with something like, oh, patch releases are pretty straightforward, right? So maybe a patch release is like a 2 out of 5 difficulty. Security release is probably our most difficult thing. So maybe that's like a 5 out of 5 difficulty. Monthly release is maybe like a 3 or a 4 level, right? So kind of ranked against each other. And then have the additional factor of how many of these things do we do? So if we're saying a security release is like a 5, our 2 security releases Like, does that give us a score of a 10, right? And then we could start to prioritize. And using that as just a little bit of a way of us actually thinking about, say, for example, like if we were to do 2 security releases in a month, does that actually reduce some of the complexity? Or is that doubling release manager workload? If we were to automate something, does that actually give us a way of reducing the complexity score? So say, for example, patch releases at the moment we're working on. Relatively straightforward process, and maybe like theoretical, like let's say like a 2 out of a 5, but we can end up doing quite a lot of them. So if we are doing 3 or 4 of those a month, and maybe we count a backport type of patch release as different as it's a bit more complicated, then there's some value in us paying those down. So it's all super like a little bit, we'd have to figure out how we do the scoring and how frequently review those. But does that seem like it might be a useful extra measure that we could have to help us, say, it would be to help us decide, do we remove some complexity? Do we increase the frequency? Or, you know, is this actually not the top priority pain point for us right now?
So no one is speaking, so I will.
Is that roaring success?
No, I like this proposal. I would like to propose a more structured scoring system. Instead of a number, I would like to score over different axes, because they may help us better understand what is happening. And the axes that I'm thinking right now are, I would say number of manual steps. Is not number of manual steps, it's how much manual work is involved in a given type of release. If it's time bounded, no, I mean, time bounded is not the right thing. So if it has a hard due date or something.
Yes.
And I don't remember the other one, but I was thinking about something along those lines, which is, give an example then, because I don't have a better name. The monthly release, we don't keep track of what is going on. We just select a package that is close to the date that it was working. So there is no special need of having something included in that build. It's just a snapshot of something that was already available. We just relabel it and run some extra packaging, but it's something that was already there. When we are looking at patch releases, we are bringing things into something that does not exist yet. So we are creating the package on when we are creating the thing, but there is still, if something doesn't apply, yeah, oftentimes we don't really care, right? So we have a list of things we would like to have in, but unless there is the P1, S1 that is not backporting correctly, we don't care. We just go on and that's it. If we're talking about security release, is the opposite side of the spectrum, where we have a list of things, they have to apply all of them. If some of, they are split with the backport and the stable. So if some of the backport doesn't apply, it just kind of blocks everything, right? So, and so my idea is that I think we want to have some of those X's, because it may give us a better because maybe there are solution of, say, offloading some of this applies well to certain type of problems, but not to all of them.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. One axis I'd love to add in is some sort of like kind of like a stress axis. I'm not sure what we call that, but there are certain problems that when they occur are way easier to deal with than others. And I would say something like the merge train, for example, is one of my least enjoyable tasks, right? When that merge train thing goes off, it's such a headache. It's so hard to recover from. And it's not like it's universally something that anyone in our group can do, right? So I think those things not only increase stress, but they also then kind of leak release management tasks over the whole team. So those ones I'd definitely love to find a way we can also add as a measure. Cool. Let me write up an issue then. Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something. I don't think that complexity or time we spend on toil is should be considered the level of priority. I do believe that it should be some sort of coefficient that multiplies complexity to amount of time we spent on toil and the frequency that we are actually doing this toil job. You know what I mean? You can just like the task can be very complex and will require a lot of focus from your side. Therefore, it's very kind of error prone, because more focus you have on the task, more chance that you can just screw something. But if you do that once a year, it doesn't matter. There is no like reason to automate it or something. But if you do the same thing but every week, that is pretty bad. And if you do the same every week but it takes like 10 minutes for you, even if it's the focus task, that also like has less priority than the task that you takes full focus 1 hour and you do that every week. So I would say like there are 3 digits that 3 metrics we need to calculate, not just one or other. It should be like coefficient that it's kind of multiplied by these digits.
Yeah, I agree. I think if we can calculate some way of sort of saying a patch release, as say, has a score of whatever 10, based on the sort of things that Lassie was talking about, then we can work out how many of these do we actually do each month, and then that gives us a way of actually starting to figure out. Some things will be easier if we could do them more frequently. So we saw that with auto deploys. It may not be guaranteed that just doing the exact same process more frequently is easier. So we can start to sort of play around with what those numbers might look like.
And obviously, in terms of in backlog, when we decide like what to choose, we just sort this toil fixes by the score, and the task that has high score we need to prioritize first.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's right. I think hopefully it will be a thing which we can sort of see in our OKR discussions, because unfortunately, I will be surprised if we could shift these numbers with an issue. I think we probably have done most of the small wins, and we're probably looking epic or OKR level to really shift these numbers. Is my guess, but we'll certainly see if we can figure it out. Cool. Let me put an issue together, because I think for a first iteration we might be able to get something up reasonably easily, because it isn't quite so tied to metrics and data collection and the more kind of complex stuff, right? We might be able to get enough up that we could use it, for example, for sort of taking a look at next year. Awesome. Thanks for that. What else? Has anyone else got anything they would like to throw in? Nope. Okay, in which case, over to release managers.
Okay, I'm gonna take over, unless Jenny wants to take over.
No, go for it. Thank you.
All right. So I hope you can see my screen. Let me just minimize this one. And yeah, we started a bit normally with the soft PCL during the week end, and then we started promoting packages, and then we had this pyramid here in the middle, which was like not a nice thing because we had like a couple of issues preventing us from deploying. I think for 24 hours last time I counted. And then we started normally like promoting through Friday, and then we hit the weekend again. This week started normally. We are promoting as normal, but we had this hiccup during last week.
I have a
And as
question,
you can,
Hamad.
of
Do you
course.
mind?
Go
Oh,
ahead.
thank you. Oh, so I'm really curious about the extra uptick in the package tag during this big pyramid, as you call it.
Yeah.
So did we really attempt to pick 4 different things to fix this? So why we have? I'm counting 4 extra packages if I'm counting right.
To be honest, I don't know. I think I tagged 2 packages, maybe extra packages to include the fix, but like these 2 packages didn't actually fix it back then.
Yeah,
But this is me actually hitting the button twice.
Yeah, I mean that's okay. I'm just trying to think in terms of the time it takes to build all those things, right? Because if you go when the from the line of 8 package tag is when you start climbing up, right? So it's before the incident line. So those 2 seems to be what's the time difference? 120. This were overnight probably. Can you move to?
They might have been the one that Graham had. So Graham was dealing with an incident around dev.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't read the incident report close enough to know if he had to trigger more packages. It sounds like, in fact, it affected the dev instance. It maybe he had to, but yeah, you're right. They're quite early on in the day, right?
Yeah. So that's probably what you're mentioning, and I think we can see you doing the double tagging because is skyrocketing 2 packages at the same time. So I mean that's okay. Yeah, no, I was trying to figure out if in the attempt to fix this, we ended up in a small time window tagging 4 packages, which sounds really, I mean, considering the time it takes to run all the pipelines, even just to validate seems quite, how did this happen? But yeah, I mean, you're right. It's a longer time of period, and then if there is we hit the thing twice, then it could make sense. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And yeah, let's go to the deployment frequency. As you can see here, we had the drop because we didn't deploy on Thursday. But like other than that, it seems normal. And here, the lead time for changes as well looks normal. Deployment blockers contains like 3 issues that majorly impacted gprod. So it's 24 hours, I think. I did recount this one because I wasn't sure if it's 10 hours or more, but like I remember Graham said we didn't deploy since yesterday, so I think this goes here into this issue. So yeah, questions?
Would we be able to get those deployment blockers onto the Epic?
I did actually copied these into, let's see, is it this one? No.
Yes.
Here. Yeah,
great.
I have it
Okay,
here.
thanks. Perfect. I was going to say one thing I don't think we've talked about very much. Oh, could you add the blocker types? Would that be okay?
Sure. Yeah.
One thing that we don't talk about too much is quality of building a process that sits on top of this epic, so that when we see failing tests or things related to a quality side of things, they're planning to put a secondary process in so that they go and investigate those. So as much as we can filter our information into this main epic as early as we can in the week, then they can go ahead and use that.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks. Is there anything we need to change based on what you saw last week?
Like make QA better, but I don't know how to do this. I think it's good. We have like the smoke test and the QA are good, but like with the last week issue, we ended up including the fix, but like we had like it was failing on G staging, but working on G staging canary, so it happened that like we had this interruption between the environments. So I'm not sure actually if we need to improve anything here.
I think we absolutely do. Yeah, I actually have an action to follow up from that incident. So for people who weren't in the incident, we had a mixed failure, mixed version failure. Well, we had a failure, we had a staging environment failure, which then caused the tests to become flaky. The tests were quarantined, but because they then were in a new package, the mixed version tests couldn't fail because the new package was on staging canary, but the tests were still failing on staging, and we ended up stuck. So it's a known edge case from the mixed version tests. I don't know if we've hit it before. I know we do know it exists, but there's definitely
I hit that one.
Yeah. So that's a super fun one. There's definitely some takeaways from that. I think Jenny made a super point, which was like, why is staging tests not updated with the package? Like, I don't think I know enough about how the test suites are set up to allow that to be. So I think we can do some work with quality to help on that. But yeah, it was a super fun one. The fact it was a staging environment problem that triggered the whole thing was a bit of a pain. And Jenny, you mentioned as well when we chatted last week about your sense that the QA tests seem quite unstable at the moment. Like, is that still is that something you've also seen, Akmal? Like, is that generally feel like it could be the case?
Sorry, like I think it's an uptick. Again, I only have 2 like release manager cycles to compare it to, but I don't think the last month that I did RM duties, I was retrying that many QA tests in general. I did notice that, like some of the retries are related to deployment, but a lot of them were related to QA. So so Amy and I talked about that last week, and we were talking about, so for example, if a test fails, we track that on our issues board. So I started doing that, even if it's just a retry and it passes, technically speaking, it does block our our deployment process for even 30 minutes. So we should probably track that. So that's why if what's it called? If you look at all those blockers, one of them would be oh, just QA test failed and it passed on a retry, but it still did take about 30 minutes to try to retry that and then get that passing. So if that happens multiple times during the week, it's probably blocking our pipeline a lot more than we think they are.
I fully agree. I just had a quick search in Slack, and yeah, it's so pretty frequent. So on the 8th of December, shout if that was an incident day. Was that an incident day?
8th. Yeah, end of incident day.
So you had 5 failures on the 8th from the smoke main job. The 6th had 2, one on the 2nd, one on the 4 on the 1st. That seems very frequent, lots on the 28th as well. Might be worth just having a quick scan back over the last as much Slack history as we've got, and see. We might be able to see what a rough number looks like. I was saying to Jenny, I'm kind of idealistic, so I expect 0. You may all expect some different number, but I think it would be a good one. If we could get a little bit of data together, we could get that over to quality and ask them to see if there's some flakiness going on there. I mean, there are quite a lot of failures, but it does seem reasonable that that job should be a bit more stable than it is, because yeah, you're right, Jenny, that even with a retry, you're losing like half an hour every time. So awesome. Any other stuff that anyone wants to mention or ask about on the metrics? No, I wanted to just shout out again, I put it in Slack, but all of these are kind of proxy numbers for MTTP, and MTTP is looking very, very nice right now. So great work, everyone. Like, I know there's a lot of room for improvement, but also the number of frequency of deployments that is going through at the moment is really, really good. So share this. So this is our teams. Enough jumping. Our team performance indicator. So this is the one that gets looked at in the key metrics review meeting with everyone. So this is the stuff that we do want to influence. We can see currently we're on 14 hours for MTTP for December, but November we hit 14.7, which is our lowest ever. So super work. Well done. December will spike up a bit because we know we have a PCL coming, but that's okay. We can kind of disregard that. But at the moment, things are looking really good. Cool. So is there anything else anyone wants to bring up on this recording? Nope. Okay, I'll stop the recording.